Okay. What's your name? Where are you from? And how old are you?
My name is Larry. I'm originally from Dayton, Ohio. I lived down there until I was about 3. Moved to Heber Heights with my dad until I was about 7. Then I moved up here in Champaign County. I lived around the Rosewood area for most of my childhood and adult life. I'm 42 years old.
Was you raised in a religious home?
Pretty much, yeah. My dad went to church on Sundays and took me with him. And when I went over to my mom's every other weekend, she went to church as well. So they taught me a lot about the Bible and about religion and everything. So yes.
Just out of curiosity, what is your opinion of aliens, Bigfoot, Mothman, the broad spectrum of paranormal, not just ghosts, but the broad spectrum? Do you believe in those things or not?
Well, the way I look at things, you never know what's out there. I've watched shows called Into the Woods. I think it was Into the Woods. No, These Woods Are Haunted. Excuse me. These Woods Are Haunted. And they had stuff on paranormal activity, which with ghosts. They had stories with people on there, real life stories with Bigfoot and Mothman. So, I guess you could say, yeah, I can believe there'd be something like that out there. I mean, hey, they said there were werewolves and vampires, so why not Bigfoot and aliens and Mothman?
What would be considered your favorite supernatural thriller or horror film?
I know there's many of them that are good. I'd say the one I watched was probably the creepiest. Because there's a couple of them I do like, and one I watched the creepiest, I think it was made back in 2007. It's called An American Haunting, where this guy rented a house. Because he's a paranormal investigator, and he found out that the family that lived there was murdered by the father. And he'd hear children giggling, walking through the hallway, and whispering, saying, "Shh, don't want to wake him up," and all this and that and the other. There'd be apparitions in the bed like someone's under the covers. But he'd do EVP recordings. He could not get nothing out of it. Nothing. So he had to provoke the father, the one that killed the family. And he ended up pretty much getting manhandled by this guy. He threw a sheet around and finally went over that guy, and he just pummeled him.
Is that a big Hollywood film, or is that more like a side project?
It was more of a side project. It was like a cheap made film, but it was really good.
There was one like that for me, which just isn't about me, but I'll just throw this in here real quick. One of the cooler movies I'd ever seen was actually like a really cheapo made, like you could tell that some of the people weren't professional actors, but it was a movie called 13 Seconds. And the whole idea is these people are in a band, and they rent out this large building to do like a recording in.
Yeah.
And one of them dies of an overdose, but he doesn't realize that he died of an overdose while he's there, and he's getting visited by all of these like crazy demonic entities and things. It's pretty cool.
Well, and another one,
very creepy.
Another one was Night of the Demons. The first one came out in '88. They made the second one, the sequel to that, and the third one was kind of cheap made. That was where these guys go investigate. Not investigate. I'm sorry. They go have a Halloween party at an old funeral parlor, a big one, and it'll make you think if something ever like that happened. And from what I've heard, that's kind of a true story.
Does it make you ever have an interest in investigating a funeral parlor?
I think I would. I think I would. I think that would be really interesting because I think some stuff stays behind there. But, I always wondered, can they travel? Can they go see their families? Go back to funeral parlor? Sometimes I think they can travel. And I thought another good show was 13 Ghosts. I mean, I don't know if you've seen that or not.
Yeah, I have it actually. It's really hard to find.
Yeah.
Have you ever lived in a haunted place?
Yes, I have. I lived in a couple haunted places. First one was probably my grandma's place, and when they first got it, I went upstairs all by myself and heard footsteps, and I seen the carpet moving. There was nobody there, and it was coming towards me, and so I tried to haul ass down the steps, and I ended up getting shoved. Got shoved, and I rolled down the steps. I was about 8 years old at the time.
That was very early for you then.
And the other place was where I lived out on Friend Road. You lived with me there for a while, if you remember, right?
Yeah.
Had some things happen. I got to the place where I've gotten grabbed by the ankles and jerked out of bed into the closet.
In that house?
Yes.
On Friend? Yeah.
In that house. That's happened to me. I've had things thrown at me. I had I had a can of pop that was open fly off the coffee table and land on the carpet without a drop being spilled. Had Christmas bulbs broken. That pissed me off. I mean, because that stuff's money, you know, and you get things that gets broken. And I had stuff like that happen there. Oh, and there's one time when I was cooking supper, I heard, I thought it was my daughter Brenda. She kept saying, "Dad!" Yeah, come here. And I said, just give me a minute. I'm, cooking. I'll be there just a minute. And a few minutes later, "Dad, come here." I said, "All right, hold on." So when I go back, I go in there. She's sleeping, taking a nap, taking a little siesta before dinner, and she was asleep. I was like, wow.
Yeah, I've always felt like that. That place, stuff. When I'd sleep on the floor out there, it always felt like something was watching you from the kitchen.
Oh, yeah.
The next question I have for you is, what is the first supernatural experience that you've ever had that you can remember, and how old were you when it happened?
Well, the first experience I had when I told you before, and I was 8 years old at my grandma's, and I got pushed down the steps. When I got older, it was here. When one time when I came out here with your brother, we was going to tie one on one night. About 19 years old. He wanted me to stay the night, so he was about 13 at the time. And watched you and your mom get in the car and leave, and I heard somebody in her voice say, "Larry, Jeremy, come here now." And we both looked at each other, and he goes, "Well, we'll just stay at your place." And that's what we did. I've been hitting the forehead, punching the forehead out here. Had things breathe in my face. Seen apparitions. Seen back at the back camper. Seen it looked like a couple of Indians walking by. You can see like they was carrying the bows on their back. You can see the spears in their hands with the tips on them.
Let's see here. How many places have you stayed that you know of to be haunted in your lifetime, or that you believed was haunted?
Well, this place here, my grandma's, the house out on Friend Road. Sometimes my place, where I'm at now, but not really too much. That's every once in a blue moon something. It's not like every day, or say once in a great blue moon.
It's like 3 or 4 places then.
Yeah.
Have you ever been visited by a loved one after they passed away?
Yes, I have. My grandparents have visited me. One instance, I was asleep, and then they come to you in your dreams, from what I've heard, and I was in this flower garden, and there was this arch with roses growing up around it, and it was everything. There was concrete, like water. What do you call those things? That it looks like you have water in it.
Trough?
A trough, like a water, something like a bird, like a bird bath, but not. But it's something like you would have. The people would put fish in, or water fountain. Sorry, excuse me, something like a water fountain, but it was flowers all around it, and there were stoned benches, like sometimes you see at a cemetery. You sit by someone's grave. And I was sitting on one, and Grandma wearing a white gown, and she walked up to me and walked to that trellis, that arch, and told me everything's going to be all right. And I woke up. I had dreams of my Uncle Jimmy come and visit me. My ex-brother-in-law and my ex-mother-in-law did. I think my Aunt Mildred has. Maybe a couple of friends have passed.
So what is it that makes you want to pursue ghost hunting?
Well, I just want to see what's out there, you know, get my foot in the water, get my feet wet, get my foot in the dirt, and maybe see how we could help them with the spirits and move on if they want to move on. And it makes you sit there and wonder why they're here, why did they stay, why didn't they go? You know, because usually something stays behind if something tragic happened. You know, like a car crash, anything, suicide, cause that, murder, anything tragic makes them stay behind, or they just choose to. Just maybe see if we could maybe help them out. And, you know, I imagine they have feelings like we do, scared, anger, anything, happy, you know.
Help them to find peace.
Help them to find peace, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Not to sit there and aggravate them or make them mad or anything like that. But yeah, it's to find peace.
So, I mean, you kind of already, you know, touched on this a little bit. But do you believe in angels and demons, God, the devil, heaven, hell, that type of thing?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Yes, I do, because, you know, there's always a higher power, and that's God.
Have you ever had any kind of encounters with angels that you're aware of?
Yeah, I one time I was really hurting pretty bad and upset over not being able to be around my son every day, and I fell asleep, and when I woke up I felt that it looked like Jesus sitting in a chair wearing a white robe with blue and a rope that ties it to keep the rope shut, and looked at me and said everything's going to be alright, and there was a white glow with him, and he just disappeared.
So what is the, you know, and to counteract what I just asked you, what's the scariest thing that has ever happened to you?
Scariest thing that ever happened to me?
It can be anything, it doesn't even have to be paranormal.
Have to be paranormal. Well, I would have to say, scariest thing ever, well, there's a lot, so many scary things. Scariest thing that ever happened to me was probably becoming a dad the first time. I'd say.
Yeah, that'll do it.
That was a doozy.
Have you ever had any near-death experiences?
Yeah, I have actually. Two were suicidal attempts. When I was about 14, and it was just people were always mean to me, and not very, you know. I never understood why. I was always a good person. I was always nice to people. And, I mean, I do got a temper. I ain't gonna lie. You know, I was tired of it. Started fighting back. But the time I was 14, put a shotgun in my mouth, and I was gonna end it right there. And something told me not to, and I didn't. And the second time, when I was 18, I was really upset, really hurting over my child. You know, and I could see him and stuff like that. And once again, put a shotgun in my mouth. Buddy had caught me, knocked it away, and Dad wouldn't let me have my guns for a while. And told everybody if I'll go hunting, I can't be by myself. You know. And finally, after a while, I realized that my dad said, a woman ain't worth killing herself over. He's right.
Yeah, he absolutely is.
And I got thinking, there's a reason for everything, and you know, end up getting them. custody of them and everything. After a while, my dad realized, I got myself straightened around, so I just started going hunting and doing the thing that I used to do, and just went on. Even though everything hurt, but it all paid off in the end.
My dad used to tell me that if a woman would make you fight to earn her love, she's not worth her time.
Right.
Because you shouldn't have to earn somebody's love like that.
Well, another reason was too is because even though going through my childhood, people being mean to me,
Yeah.
and going through my adulthood, people are doing the same thing, and sometimes, I'll be honest, it sometimes crosses my mind, but I think of 10,000 different ways not to.
Commit suicide? Well, don't ever let that happen.
Oh no, because I think about my wife, my kids, I think about you and all my friends. Man, I gotta be here for the Pittsburgh Steelers, man.
I don't mean to laugh, but yeah.
No,
I
that's
didn't expect
good.
to hear that.
Yeah, I gotta be here for that. I mean, come on, I gotta have that. But I like to go out and go hunting and fishing and camping and stuff like that. You can't do that if you're not here.
Yeah, it's
Well,
true.
like I said, but I think of 10 different thousand reasons why not to, and I'm always strong enough. Because I'm thinking, it's the devil trying to make me think that stuff.
I get an issue I have is I get obsessed with like the end of days type of thing sometimes.
Yeah.
And it might sound silly, but I can kind of relate when you're talking about the Pittsburgh Steelers, because for me, sometimes the only thing that will pull me through is just knowing that there's a new movie coming out that I really want to see, and if the world ends before that happens, I'm not going to get to see that movie or something silly like that.
Yeah.
So I can kind of
That's
understand.
not silly. I don't think it's silly. I mean, it makes you think. Stuff makes you think, But no, like I said, and I promise everybody here who would listen, I ain't gonna do that. That's just something I suffer from major depression.
You're one of the best human beings I've ever met.
And
I mean that.
And I really appreciate that. I thank you. And I know
on this planet or any other.
I know me and you can relate. A lot of people think that with me and you, when we struggle with mental issues, they think we're weak. It's not. It's a cry for help. It's a disease. It's not something that's a joke.
Yeah. Last question, and then I'll let you call it quits for this one.
You're fine.
When you come into contact with some kind of spiritual energy or whatever else, what kind of things, what kind of faculties do you have as far as like your psychic abilities to let you know, hey, something is different about this place?
Well, I can, the way I can explain it, that they just kind of come to me. I can feel it. Sometimes I can see it and I can hear it. It's like a place we investigated. And looked at the pictures. They stared right through my eyes. Told me they were there. That's when I came.
That one,
yeah, that's when that's when I came and pulled you off the side and said, "I need you to come here a minute." And that's when I pointed and said, "No, they're here."
Now you made a believer out of me, because you were actually the second out of like 4 people who identified that specific photograph that day as being someone who was there, and none of us had talked ahead of time about it. So
my sister told me I kind of got empath abilities because she's got to where she can open and shut doors, what she can do. And I was sitting there and talking to her about it one day. I said, I said, Terry, I looked at my wife and said, Jeremy's going to call, and a few seconds later the phone rings. Go to Walmart, Mark's here. Here he comes walking out the door, and didn't see no car or nothing. Like stuff like that. She said, well, you got a gift that runs inside the family. I never knew that.
You ever think this, and this isn't on here, but just a question.
Sure.
You ever think that maybe sometimes the suicidal thoughts, the depression and things that you have may not actually be yours, but someone else's?
Well, me and Megan sat there and talked about that one night when we did an investigation. She told me that a lot of my depression and stuff like that is due a lot to the way I was treated, but yet, being an empath, I'm taking on someone else's pain because I can feel other people's pain. And I'll tell you a story. My dad took me to go see my grandpa's grave after he passed away about 7 years ago. And we went looking around, and we seen some children's graves, which I don't like seeing children's graves because that really hurts. But all of a sudden, you know, we went into the mausoleum, and that's where Agnes Moorehead buried. I don't know if you know who she is. She played on the original Bewitched. And you remember that show Bewitched? The woman.
I remember the show, but it's been years.
She played the mother of, was it Elizabeth, or I think her name was, or something like that. She, she played the mother of the Bewitches. She was the Bewitches, the woman that was bewitched. She was the mother of her, and is always causing trouble with her and her husband and stuff, but aggravating them.
Typical mother-in-law.
Yeah, but
No, I'm just kidding.
all of a sudden,
I didn't say that. No.
all of a sudden, I was hearing all these voices in my head, wailing and crying, screaming, wanting to be here, didn't want to be dead, wanting to be here, and I just started crying, and I told Daniel, "You gotta get me out of here." It was that bad because it was everything, everybody, all at once.
Oh, wow.
And that's when I started realizing my sister was right. And when me and her had a talk about it, she goes, sometimes you'll take on somebody else's pain that's passed on or whatever. I can even, people that are alive, I can feel it.
Just as a side note too, if we ever do a investigation and you have more than one thing come through and you get overwhelmed, take a break.
All right.
You know what I mean? I don't want it to ever become overwhelming.
Well, don't ever be afraid to ask me either if I feel anything or not. And she does all the time. You know.
Well, it was a good
Okay.
interview. Thanks for doing it for me, brother.
You're very welcome. That's not a problem.